The story of Israel begins thousands of years ago, rooted in the ancient soil of the Middle East. For the Jewish people, this history starts with a promise. Their traditions tell of forefathers like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who are considered the patriarchs of the nation. According to the Hebrew Bible, God promised this specific land, known as Canaan, to Abraham and his descendants as an everlasting inheritance. This covenant forms the very foundation of the Jewish connection to the land. It is a spiritual and ancestral claim that has been passed down through countless generations, creating an unbroken thread of memory and aspiration that stretches across the vast expanse of time. This early period was about forming an identity tied not just to a set of beliefs, but to a particular place on earth. This ancient connection was solidified during the time of Moses, who, according to the biblical narrative, led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. After 40 years of wandering in the desert, they entered the Promised Land. This event, known as the Exodus, is a central pillar of Jewish faith and identity. It represents a journey from bondage to freedom, from wandering to settlement. Once in Canaan, the 12 tribes of Israel began to establish themselves, slowly forming a more cohesive society. This period was marked by struggles with neighboring peoples, but it was also a time of consolidation, where a shared culture, language, and religious practice began to flourish and define the Israelite people in their ancestral home. The height of this early history was the establishment of a kingdom. Around 1000 BCE, King David conquered the city of Jerusalem and made it his capital. David is a monumental figure in Jewish history, revered as a great leader, poet, and warrior who united the tribes of Israel into a single, powerful monarchy. His son, King Solomon, built the first temple in Jerusalem, which became the absolute center of Jewish religious and national life. The temple was not just a place of worship, it was a symbol of God's presence among his people and the heart of the kingdom. This era, often called the Golden Age, established Jerusalem as the eternal capital in the Jewish consciousness, a status it has held ever since. However, this unified kingdom was not destined to last forever. After the death of King Solomon, internal divisions led to its split into two separate kingdoms, the Kingdom of Israel in the north, and the Kingdom of Judah in the south, with Jerusalem remaining its capital. This division weakened them, making them vulnerable to the powerful empires rising in the region. The northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrians in 722 BCE, and its inhabitants were scattered, becoming known as the 10 Lost Tribes. The southern kingdom of Judah survived for more than a century longer, but it too would eventually face the might of a foreign power, setting the stage for the first great exile. The land of Israel, due to its strategic location at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe, was a prized possession for many ancient empires. It served as a land bridge connecting powerful civilizations, making it a constant target for conquest. In 586 BCE, the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, conquered the Kingdom of Judah. The Babylonians destroyed Solomon's magnificent first temple and forced a large portion of the Jewish population into exile in Babylon. This catastrophic event marked a profound trauma in Jewish history. It was the first time that the people were forcibly removed from their land on a massive scale, testing their ability to maintain their identity and faith without their central sanctuary and national sovereignty. The Babylonian exile did not last forever. Several decades later, the Persian Empire, led by Cyrus the Great, conquered Babylon. In a remarkable decree, Cyrus allowed the Jews to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple in Jerusalem. Many did return, and the Second Temple was completed around 516 BCE, ushering in a new era of Jewish life in the land of Judah, which was now a province of the Persian Empire. This period, known as the Second Temple period, lasted for nearly 600 years. It was a time of significant religious and cultural development, during which many key Jewish texts were written and compiled, and Jewish society re-established itself around the new temple. Following the Persians, a new power rose from the west, the Greeks, under Alexander the Great. His conquest in the 4th century BCE brought Greek culture, known as Hellenism, to the region. This created a tension within Jewish society between those who embraced Greek ways and those who sought to preserve their traditional Jewish practices. This conflict eventually erupted into a full-scale rebellion in the 2nd century BCE, known as the Maccabean Revolt. The revolt was successful, leading to a brief period of renewed Jewish independence under the Hasmonean dynasty. This victory, celebrated by the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, represents a powerful story of resistance against cultural and religious assimilation. The final and most powerful empire to rule the region in ancient times was Rome. The Romans conquered the land in 63 BCE, ending Jewish independence once again. Roman rule was often harsh and oppressive, leading to widespread resentment among the Jewish population. This tension culminated in a major uprising, the Great Jewish Revolt, which began in 66 CE. The revolt was ultimately crushed by the Roman legions. In the year 70 CE, in a devastating blow to the Jewish people, the Romans destroyed the Second Temple in Jerusalem. This event was a national catastrophe of immense proportions, fundamentally changing the course of Jewish history and marking the beginning of a long, widespread dispersion. The destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in 70 CE was a turning point. It marked the effective end of Jewish political sovereignty in their ancient homeland for nearly 2,000 years. Following this event and another failed revolt led by Simon Bar Kokhba a few decades later, the Romans brutally suppressed the Jewish population. They renamed the province Syria Palestina in an attempt to erase the Jewish connection to the land. A great number of Jews were killed, sold into slavery, or forced to flee. This began the Great Dispersal, known as the Diaspora, where Jewish communities were scattered across the Middle East, North Africa, and Europe. Despite this, a small Jewish population always remained in the land, maintaining a continuous presence through the centuries. Throughout the long centuries of exile, Jewish communities